This is so close. Uh, hello, 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 hello. Why I write. Thanks. How are you doing tonight? This is Why I Write. My name is Totlin Oliver, and I'm going live here on my Facebook page just to remind you that remember, we are on YouTube. So do not miss out on this fantastic conversation that we are going to be doing tonight with a very special guest. Look for
Oh,
my
stop. Oh, stop it.
look for our channel right here on YouTube. We're not going to broadcast everything live right here on Facebook. This is where we started, but we wanted to include more folks, those folks who are not on Facebook, so that, we have a wider reach. So just look for Totlin Oliver Why I Write YouTube channel, click on the live stream, and you will see all of our show. So make sure that you're tuned in to our YouTube channel to watch this very interesting discussion that's coming your way in 2 nanoseconds. All right. Hope you all had a great weekend. We weren't together last week. We were, Mother's Day weekend celebrations ran right over. So we're back with you again this week as we highlight authors and we seek the inspiration that, we always need when it comes on to being inspirational and following your dreams and not letting fear hold you back. If you don't know, if this is our first time watching Why I Write, we do a program Why I Write to feature our artists and our creators because so many folks have been told in their younger years, why you want to become a writer, why you want to publish a book, why you want to act, why you want to sing. I even heard some twittering in the background as I pursued all of these endeavors. And I paid them no mind because it's what was my bliss, is what I enjoyed. So we created Why I Write to have the conversations with our writers so we understand what really goes into honoring that drive and that pull to say, you know what, I'm gonna publish my book of poetry. I am gonna publish my my novel or my memoirs. What you have in mind to do, proceed and do it. Tonight, we have a gentleman with us from the Jamaican soil who I've known in, oh my God, so many years,
Don't call.
so many years. And it is such my honor and pleasure to welcome to our Why I Write stage, veteran broadcaster and now published poet. Yes, in the person of ta-na-na-na, Curtis Myrie. Welcome to the hot seat at Why I Write. How are you doing today?
It's steaming. It's steaming. Thank you, Tatlin. Thanks for inviting me.
It is my pleasure. It's my pleasure. One of the goods to come out of the pandemic, 2020 pandemic, is that all of us, Curtis, now have a mini studio, if not a large studio, at our homes, right? So we get to connect with each other virtually as we're now doing. Did you ever believe 20, 30 years ago, Curtis, when we both work at RJR, Radio Jamaica, RJR 94 FM, that the time would come when we could have our own studio set up at home?
Listen, you wouldn't even imagine it. I'm telling you, right? And as you were talking about the pandemic, I remembered during that time, Stratton Palmer, my associate from the wrong side of North Street. If can you imagine the face he's making now? Stratton Palmer and I and Billy Yap, right? We had this hybrid podcast, as it were,
Mm.
called Real Chat, right? Where every week we would transform my bedroom into a mini studio. And
Wow.
we would be discussing, it was the concept of it was Here was our den. And you know, when boys get together in a den, they discuss everything: sports, politics, yeah, you name it,
Yes.
right? And it was called Real Chat. So the pandemic provoked, as it were, what stirred you and what you wanted to do despite being restrained, or as someone would say, locked down, right?
There you go. There you go. There you go. You know, but that's so many years. Curtis, Myrie, we first met when I was a foundling at the radio station. And if my mind serves me, if my memory serves me right, you are also on the sports scene because you are out at Caymanas every Saturday.
No,
No, you
no,
are
no.
not.
That was sports editor Ed Barnes, essentially, who
That's
had
right.
a range of sporting disciplines that he addressed. I was the broadcaster for the newscast,
That's
and
right.
in the mold coming from the print media,
Mhm.
I was dealing with sports commentary,
That
right?
is,
As a broadcast column, as it were.
yes,
Good. So that was more my beat, because I had a passion for farcing, as we call it. Nicely, we call it probing and investigating.
that is,
Right? Good. So I liked to examine issues from day one. Good. And when you started, when you came from a cradle, that was the Jamaica Daily News at 58 halfway tree,
mhm.
and you were in the company of the likes of a Tony Becker, a Hubert Gray, a Rick Mentos, a Canu James, a Carl Wade.
Yes.
You were taught very early, even without being schooled, that the important thing was not just that one story, but all that could and would be and should be developed.
Mhm.
So you weren't, you knew that your metal, your mark depended on all the other things that you would be investigating. So when I left the Daily News to Radio Jamaica,
Mhm.
after spending some months at 𝐒𝐕𝐄 Advertising, because when I left the Daily News, I went to 𝐒𝐕𝐄 Advertising first. When I came to RJR,
Mhm.
that, you kept following, you kept going up that avenue,
Yes.
right? So I was always interested in the sports news that was the news to be investigated and examined and analyzed and appraised and all that sort of thing.
But what does that actually mean? Because, for sporting activity, don't we just get up and watch our sports,
Nah,
watch two
you you
two
you
boy
will
run
you
a champs?
no. There's the administrative side of it always. There's the
Love it,
business side of it, right? And
love
you
it.
and you needed to peek under the covers.
I love it.
Because yes, there's a whole world, just like news.
Hmm.
There's a whole world that has to be addressed, and
Yes,
I was more interested in that side of sports, that side of the games that we love to play.
because starting out as a journalist, you don't just say the things on the surface. We go behind the
Mhm.
scenes, as you just mentioned, to ferret out the things that cause the end products that we participate in as spectators. You know,
Good.
I remember your crisp delivery, Curtis. I remember how you would just spit the news out. That's what you literally did with such with a clipped, sharp tone that
Me not saying nothing with all them fancy description and all that thing. Me just going to keep quiet and make you talk.
this is Curtis Myrie. You would roll those R. Enunciation was you see back in the day.
Yes, in
Yeah,
those days.
yeah. Or you
In
can't
those
just,
days.
all of we know how to talk patois. All of us know how to speak the Jamaican
Um, um,
Jamaican language.
nation language.
The nation language.
Nation language.
Yes.
As I tell people about the book, the publication, it's a
Yeah.
hybrid between standard English and the nation language. And when you start talking to me about that, I will say a little bit more about nation language as against using the word patois.
I tell you. So look, we're gonna sign off right here on the Facebook Live. Please click our link below on Facebook and join us over on YouTube to catch the live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in. And hi to Canute Lawrence over there, another poet, another fine Jamaican poet.
Hey, hey, Canute, hey.
Canada. Thank you so much for tuning in. Canute, share the good news. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, what we find is, Curtis, is that we have a tendency to think that, or may I say, folks may think that once you're in one genre of your talent pool, that's where you stick to. You don't step outside of that. You stay within the bounds of what people know you for. What do you have to say about that?
Simple. You would be wasting your time if you allow others to decide and determine, right, what is going to be the route of your own personal pursuits, your professional pursuits, and the various steps and strides that you plan to make and are going to make. We are all we all have, I believe, because there's no, I doubt it if there is just one person with one area of talent, one talent area. So you shouldn't make anyone put you in a frame because that's what we like to do, as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
So I put Tatlin in a frame because Tatlin is the broadcaster. And
Mm-hmm.
there is so much to Tatlin because Tatlin is multifaceted, right? Let's put Curtis in a frame, in a box,
Mm-hmm.
because he is the sportscaster. Good. I had an interest in sports journalism from high school, because I started to work with the Gleaner and the Daily News from fourth form at St. George's College. But I had an interest in business. And when I did business studies, I had an interest in marketing. And when I left the Daily News, I saw we're going to RJR. It moved from just radio broadcasting to eventual television production. No one
Mm-hmm.
should be defining who you are. That's your job, right through all your years, right? And that's what I'm about.
I
I'm
love
about my own definition.
I love that. I love that. And rightly said. Let's go back to when it all this started. Because you started from somewhere. You had a mother and your father. You were a little baby one time. How did your life start out? And what were some of the
You know, I want to say this now that you're taking me back there. In the book, Staring into My Soul, Andreen Bonner, the publishing producing partners, right?
big up Andre?
Andreen Bonner and Faith Nelson. Andreen Bonner did something different. She wanted to do something different.
Yes.
So naturally, at the front of the book, you would have your acknowledgments and blah, blah, your forward and so on. And then at the very back of the book, she insisted. In fact, it was created from a Zoom interview like this. She
Mhm.
insisted that at the very back of the book should be more a fulsome note about how I began my journey, right? And of various stages of the journey.
Mhm.
And my beginning my journey, I can remember at Percy Street in Hannatown. Good? Just a throw, a stone throw from Victoria Jubilee Hospital. I like to tell people that my mother, when I was ready to come into this world, just walked across the street from Percy Street into Jubilee Hospital because that's
Mm.
how close we lived.
Right.
Yes, yes, in Hannahtown. And then we moved to Fletcher's Land. Then we went from Fletcher's Land. You know how families hop about in the inner city. And then we moved from Fletcher's Land to Jonestown.
Right.
And Jonestown started to cement the very persona that would make me be thinking always about the social conditions around me, right? I, 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 I like to write, so I would see what is happening, feel what is happening, pen what is happening. Essentially, that's what it was. And I had in at the very back of the book, I explained that we have falsehoods about the villages that inner cities once were, because inner cities had their own journey too.
Mm-hmm.
Jonestown was a working middle class
Mm-hmm.
sort of setting before social decay set in. And the very village that we speak about, grooming children, that was the environment that Jonestown was.
Mm.
So you had Clyde Mackenzie and his family living across from my family on Asquith Street. Everybody had to be respectful of each other's parents. Oh, we rabble roused, yes, but we did everything that spoke to the development of young boys and girls that had adults watching over us, who had adults watching over us. And everybody knows that, hey, my best friend mother is still my mother and my auntie. And my best friend father is still my father and my uncle. That
Yeah.
sort of thing, right? And we all went to George's. I was giving you the joke this morning where Clyde was head boy, I was prefect and member of the student council, and my younger brother Kirk was, oh, is he a show off? He reminds everybody that he was always a prefect in every class, and then he was the assistant head boy to Clyde Mackenzie, and then he became head boy. That
Mm-hmm.
Father Quinlan, I remember, teased, noting all of this and saying, the votes have gone left. The votes have gone left. And life was robust. Eh?
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
played, we quarreled, we argued,
Mm-hmm.
it was quite a melting pot, right? Quite a ferment of lifestyles in that we're talking about the 70s now rolling out in the 80s,
Right.
right? Clyde lived beside a very interesting character, Sam Reed, we call him Gussie. And he was, shall we say, an associate member of the Mystic Revelation of Rastafari. We were cultured by Rastafarians who had, what shall I call it, a very engaging view of the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? In fact, if I may tease, a Catholic taste, right? And appreciation of all types of lifestyles and so on. Good, very serious men, very cultured men,
Mm-hmm.
men playing all types of music because they reminded us one day that His Majesty loved jazz, going to the UN once in New York and saying that this is the music of angels. So Rasta wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
drum beating groups, right? Rasta was a universal development and lifestyle.
Yes. Yes.
So that's myself, Clyde, Kirk, we were in the middle of all of that.
So you have literally answered a question that was in my mind to ask, which was, what would you say is a singular most influential uh, set of personalities or events that help shape your keen insight as an observer and as a writer of your life experiences? And here you have explained that
Well, let me add, my
yeah,
neighbors, yes, as Rastafarians, yes. But my very school, we were taken
mhm,
with how engaging. Oh, did we protest at times? Yes, we did.
mhm,
We and the Jesuits would lock horns.
mm,
But they always invited this sort of nimble mindedness from us. So, in answer to that question, the influence was from both directions,
right,
from the Jesuits, right, who allowed us to be ourselves, right?
mhm,
Yes, you must do your work, but
right,
they would take on the opposition, and from our very community, the Rastafarians around us, right, who are very cerebral.
oh yeah,
A lot of people don't understand that, hey, numbered among this group, this religious, and I hate to use the word sect, numbered among this religious body were all types of folks, right? All types of folks.
right. Well, it sounds like the multifaceted nature of our socio-economic and socio-cultural environment at the time really gave so much fodder to who and what, not just you, but all of us during that era, what we became. And what I'm hearing from you, Curtis, is something that I particularly enjoyed as a participant observer myself, is that we measured and we valued depth and foundation. We
Yes,
didn't no foolishness, no
yes,
foolery.
Kathleen. Yes,
We valued questioning, as you just mentioned,
yes.
talking head.
And you can't just come run up your mouth.
Exactly.
If you are arguing about this, be prepared to address what people might object to
Yes.
without any hostility, eh? Because scholarship is about that sort of engagement.
Is the word scholarship.
Yeah,
Exactly so.
it is. It is. It is.
Exactly
It is.
so. And it lends such a girth to our life experience that we see an interplay between work life and social, we call it easygoing life, social life,
Mhm.
socializing, entertainment, performance, but everything was so beautifully mixed where we definitely went beyond the surface and we did not stay in shallow waters. We were not afraid to be expressive and to be, in particular, incisive.
We challenged every damn thing.
Yes. Yes.
We did. It's the truth,
Yes.
right? And all to be sharpening our mind or wit, right?
Mhm.
That's exactly what we did,
Yeah. As a young
right?
man, the first time you saw your name come out in the byline in a print newspaper, how did that feel to you?
Oh, excellent question. It was the difference of the character of both media houses. Because as I said to you, while in fourth form, I was working for the Gleaner and
Mhm.
for the Daily News. In
At
fact, that all yes, that in fact that all came about by through the our English teacher at the time, fourth and fifth form, a man by the name of Joe Kijansky, right? Who revitalized the school newspaper, the blue and white, And then I think, if I'm getting it all correctly, Raymond Sharp, the late Raymond Sharp, who was then sports editor of the Gleaner, saw the blue and white and reached out to the school, who contacted Mr. Kijakazi, who engaged myself, Clyde McKenzie, Donovan Green, I think Anthony East too for a while, right? And then Hugh Ferguson followed suit. Good. He is here in South Florida, managing the Caribbean News Weekly. That's so there was a crop of us.
Mm,
And but when we went to the Gleaner, to get back to your question, when we went to the Gleaner had no bylines there.
mm,
You were the Gleaner news reporter. You
exactly.
were the Gleaner sports reporter,
Hmm.
right? In the sense of that strict tradition.
Yes.
Good. And I can't say it nicely any other way. Good. And then the Jamaica Daily News was a cultural boiling pot that wanted to address, and these are my words, um, wanted to provide more focus, I believe, on social issues, social political issues, social economic issues. The media was a creature, living, breathing creature, right? So, what complemented all of that was to be speaking now to the public with your own name,
Mm.
and that gave you a sense of worth.
Sense of validity.
Ah, there
Sense
we
of
go.
validity.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, your grandmother would have perhaps said, but him told man know he, all him name in a paper.
A Jamaican grandma would say that.
Yes, you know.
Come on, when
But
you
no,
boy
but
up
no,
and dirt
but
and run up and down that a bad cricket bat.
but it's a serious thing, because your parents would be talking to their friends and showing them the paper. See my son, mama, yeah, see him name, yeah, mama, da 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 da. As against, as I said, so the Jamaica Daily News set that stage,
Mm,
and then the Gleaner followed
yeah.
along that line, and everybody started. So the 7 or 8 years that the Daily News lasted changed the landscape, right? Specifically as to the persona of journalists,
Yes. Because
right?
it moved from a grandfather situation stoked in the old colonial pre-independent system
Mm-hmm.
where there was a monopoly. There was a monopoly of the production of
Mm-hmm.
printed news.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much like how
And we need to be speaking rather cautiously, because some will say that it's too easy to fix the label and tag of pro-establishment with the Gleaner, right? So you noticed I said traditionalist, right?
yeah. Oh
Well,
yeah.
but we know exactly, as you said, that's what it was. That's
Mhm,
what it was. So it was a particular stance
mhm,
in terms of a business direction,
mhm.
right? One side of the divide, and the other side say, hey, we want to be the reflecting mirror of what is happening to the people, the very masses, that sort of thing.
But Curtis, isn't it a natural unfolding in any young nation that all of these different situations would have developed socially where things would change? And no matter what went before, that changes would exist and come along. Yes, the daily.
It's such a fine question. I'll just answer it like this. If you go down East Street, I think it's still there, right across from the Gleaner. It says there's a a signboard, there a billboard, a
Mhm.
promotional billboard for the Gleaner. It says the Gleaner, words to the effect, as life unfolds.
Mhm.
Yes, so you're right. As life kept unfolding,
Mhm.
right? Things that you used to do before
Mhm.
would have to find a fit in
Mhm.
the social current of the time.
Oh,
And,
yes.
and only that the Daily News, as it were, stepped out in front of the Gleaner.
Yes.
And that was the media landscape then in the 70s and the 80s.
What is interesting is that a number of newspapers in Jamaica have come and gone. The Jamaica Observer remains, still remains. I don't know what the print output is now, but they maintain a beautiful face, at least online, and the Gleaner remains. What are your thoughts as a journalist, a lifelong journalist, about news outlets that come up in a place as small as Jamaica, as worldwide as Jamaica is? And after a while, they are no longer self-sustaining. Is it because we're too small? What is the reason
But
for?
but 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 can I tell you something?
Tell me.
There is the other side of the coin, you know.
Hmm.
You know what is fascinating even? Yes, newspapers come and go, but you mentioned the words media outlets.
Hmm.
For the economies of scale, the economy of scale that Jamaica is, so many radio stations ought not to be operating and be sustaining themselves, right?
Hmm.
And yet, because you would be saying to yourself, hey, some of them are gonna drop out, and belly bottom gone soon and very soon. But the radio stations have managed, and it warrants a study that a number of community stations, right, have stayed the course of time. And
Yes.
to get back to the whole subject of newspaper, let us congratulate Ben Broody
Hmm. Hmm.
for his community newspaper, The News, that still keeps sticking, right? So yes, the major ones, right, keep changing seats, as
Hmm.
it were, good, but Ben is still here with his news and the radio stations. So many. How can a small country like Jamaica be
Hmm.
sustaining so many radio stations? It's something to examine.
Yes. And not to be examined lightly.
No, no,
So
no.
maybe somebody at the
It speaks to resolve and resilience. See, it
yes.
does. It does.
I think it also speaks to the various cultural levels that exist within Jamaica side by side. And um each of those desires, those things within that needs to be satisfied, they are being nurtured and fed by all these various outlets. And maybe that's one answer to that question.
You're so right. And an extension of that answer
Mhm.
is, and I'm addressing the radio stations in particular. There is a strong sense of community,
Mhm.
parish by parish,
Mhm.
right? Even if it is not strikingly evident,
Mhm.
right? Um, let's not even begin to speak about IREFF.
Listen, you know that was on the tip of my tongue as to how it.
Because that's a story of Clyde Mackenzie,
There you go.
right? Who was the first general manager who dared to be different.
Yeah.
It's that again should be a serious sociological study
Yes.
because no one thought that radio, far from being tweaked, could be so transformed that it addressed all the dynamics of the largest market.
There you go.
We never did that before. We
Mm-hmm.
always said we were mass market without defining what that was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Clyde Mackenzie came and Irie FM defined the dynamics of what the mass radio market was supposed to be. But for the other radio stations, a sense of community.
Yeah.
St. Bess have him thing. You go out west, them have them thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I say, what is amazing? Oh, you go. What's the other one there? Mellow FM,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They have their constituency,
Right.
right? Their constituency, because they're appealing to the dynamics of their surroundings and environments. And the advertiser, when you think that, Lord, all the advertising that have a stretch, it's stretch because the advertiser, the marketer, the man with the product knows, listen, I need to move my product around the island and even in the diaspora, right? In this section, there is this appeal. So I can't just be placing it on the traditional stations with the all island sweep.
Right.
The community appeal is so strong that I forget the nitty gritty.
There you
And
go.
I suppose that is what helps to keep these stations alive.
What helped keep Curtis's desire alive to be writing poetry, and how long have you been writing poetry?
Lord, you want everybody to know how me all now. Afraid of you long time. You want everybody to know me all.
Hey, 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 hey. They don't even have to code. They just want to know how long you did.
we
How
were
long?
writing from we were writing from our high school years.
Yes, yes. And this is
The book,
we're strictly talking about poetry right now.
yes, we were writing from our high school years. In fact, before even thinking that you were going to be a journalist, because it started with the compositions that you liked to write, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before all of that, there was a poem or two, right? Not the hybrid necessarily, right? Although Miss Lou was foremost as a cultural pillar, but you were prompting to say something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Express
like,
yourself.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
and my mind is always open. My eyes are always open. My pulse keeps beating about all that's socially happening.
Mm.
So even from school, and then remember now, remember the 60s and the 70s, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's Black Power and Rasta, Bob Marley, and all that. So it's the time that would give rise to be wanting to express yourself about your environment, right? And that's what steered me. That's what kept me writing. So the school, after you leave school, right? But we just write it and just leave it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you may find back where you're right, but I wasn't thinking of a book. I was just writing and putting stuff down. And
So,
then, go ahead.
so
Oh,
is it that you kept on keeping these writings, or you just write it and it lost? You didn't share it with
some of
any.
them, some of them lost.
Okay.
Some of them lost, some of them stayed with you. Right? The
Mhm.
book is a collection of 75 poems.
Yes.
75 poems dedicated to my classmate, my high school classmate, Donovan Jackson, right? Deceased.
Mm.
And to also a teacher there at St. George's. He was a coach, Joe Sanguinetti. Lord, them cuss me every day. Because Donovan would say, what more, man? You're all over the place. You're not write a book. Sanguinetti, the, the, the first two poems in the book, the Friends is dedicated to Donovan Jackson. And Sanguinetti's name was Joseph Beresford Sanguinetti, right? And everybody called him Joe or Sangy. I would tease him and call him Beresford. So the poem Beresford was remembering Sanguinetti, who kept saying, "You're a joker, you know. You have the poem them all over the place like cocoa. Find a basket, man. You can't find a basket.
Listen, I love Jamaican encouragement. Jamaican encouragement is some of the best. When they come and they say to you, but you're a joker, you know, you feel bad, you're shame. And
Yeah, man. And Sangy would make you feel small when he's
you,
ready because he
you
wants you
feel
to get
good.
going, you know. We
Yes.
are do. We are do. What the poem?
Can you read that poem for us right now, Curtis?
What? Beresford?
Yes, man.
Oh.
Yes, man. Let me get a read off of Beres
Oh, look.
right now.
Oh,
Everyone,
here it is.
remember,
Here it is. Here it is.
sharing,
The book, the
sharing into my
cover of the
soul
book.
is on Amazon. It's available in Kindle and in hard copy. I would get the hard copy, please, guys.
Ingram Sparks too as well.
Yes.
Right, right.
And where else did you say?
Ingram Sparks, I think. Yes.
Ingram Sparks, correct.
Yeah,
It's on
yeah.
Ingram Sparks. It's on Amazon. Staring into my soul. After you read this poetry piece that you're going to read for us, I want you to tell us how you got to the name of the book and what inspired you to just sit your you know what down and get it going.
Let
Beresford.
me let me read both the one to Donovan Jackson,
Mhm.
right? Let me read that one. Oh, let me read that one. Yes, let me read that one first. It's called Friends, right? And we call him Jacko at school. Write it in the soil of our fertile minds. Friends. Write it on the classroom seating plan that showed the teacher where we were, but never actually who and how we were. Students stirred each class, each form, lids lifted off the boiling pots of social ferment, marking metal, how we were bent, voices raised, challenging concepts, precepts, but giving praise, groomed, guided as critical thinkers, from boys to men, remaining always friends, fiercely defending one cause after another, with special notes to be made of the mental rigor of Jacko, Donovan Jackson, pillar as pupil of the graduating St. George's College class of 74, grand night passing on, footprint, that's imprint, of one who's never leaving. Write it as we keep journeying around each turn, each bend, leaving an indelible mark as friends. That one was for Jacob. And Mr. Berries, Lord, he's burly, but he's so caring, right? Everybody has a story about Sangy, Beresford, remembering coach and the teacher, Joseph Sanguinetti. The book dedicated to these two persons who played a part in the whole production of this book, the compiling of this book, and who had various stages of my life, roles of influence. See? He said he wanted in life or death no damn blasted poetry. Man who always shunned spotlight and headline story. Joseph Beresford Sanguinetti, Joe Sangi, names we all called him. Beresford, as I teased him. Georgian, inner city, St. George's College, stalwart and custodian, man for school, community, and the country, coach, teacher, lifelong mentor, man in charge, bustling, bruising, manslide tackling, shortfalls, pitfalls, bellowing call to avoid playing loose balls. You could not shirk. He demanded work. No double six fours. This no domino. Get up and go. Keep moving forward towards your goal. All when you slip, trip, or reach for the top and can't get a grip, he would hold you, quietly urge you, compassion to gently persuade you. Beresford, hush, as he would instinctively bark. Brave students still would continue to talk. Classroom chorus of street corner laugh. Beresford, peace. Just another word. that was Joe Sanguinetti.
You
Thank
know,
you.
listening to both these renderings, Curtis, what I'm hearing is the development of you, an individual who comes from a background of a society, of a community where individualism was not the championing cause, but that of teamwork, team building, man support one another. And I am feeling, as I mentioned in all the promos before, the warm collection. I'm hearing the warmth of camaraderie, and he ain't heavy, he's my brother. So separate and apart from what we now observe across the world as a very strong individualistic type, me-centric type of living, as opposed to the community that we were fostered in former years. Again, yes, we know life has to change and societies change, but this is what I receive from those two pieces, especially the sense of team and friendship and support and enough backative. I love it.
Let me say this. We were sharply competitive,
Oh, yes.
but the sense of being protective of my brother, I can tell you, if me and Rattlesnake never quarrel, we call it was his high school name, Clyde Mackenzie. If we have a quarrel, leave it alone. You don't get involved in it.
There you go.
We knew the competitive nature did not bring an ego that ran the course of everything. So it was constantly one upmanship and see how we can keep down the next man. That's not it.
No, it's iron sharpening iron.
It's
Mhm.
oh, totally.
It is
You
iron.
got it. It's iron sharpening iron, right? And as a group, then we were happy and pleased with each other's accomplishments,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Yeah.
And that's why Jacko would say, but hey, Him used to tease me and say, but are you the poet laureate for the school? I say, yeah, idiot, you don't understand.
But
And,
I like the emotion that comes, like the express of emotion that comes. I remember being enthralled by the writings of Langston Hughes and how he would speak to the emotions of whatever situation he was speaking of, and the way that he introduced such bold nostalgia against the background of his work. And I love the fact that as a Jamaican man, here you are. We have so many different types of Jamaican man poets because every DJ is a poet as far as I'm concerned, the way they cultivate their words and their work, through to dub poetry, through to if it's a man like Malachi Smith, if it's Yasa Safari,
you,
whatever it is.
you, you mention a name that
Yes,
I must speak about as part of the story
yes.
because this hybrid was part of the environment too as well around the Daily News, right?
Mm.
I met Oko Anura first. I think it was at National Heroes Park. I think Elaine Wint brought him over because I used to, while at the Daily News, would be writing poems
Mhm.
that were published in the Sunday edition of the paper, right? And thereafter, I met Michael Smith, and I would troop over from the Daily News to the drama school in the evenings, right?
Mhm, mhm,
Inserting myself, right? In fact, there was a little tease because what I was writing then was not necessarily dub. It wasn't even hybrid so much either.
mhm, mhm,
Um, I remember. I think he has passed on now. Godfather. He was an actor, right? Noel, whatever his last name was, him used to tell me that Curtis, you write interesting poetry. And I say, why is that so? I'm say you write straight English with him.
Noel Vaz.
So,
No?
eh?
Was it Noel Vaz?
No, it was not. No, it was Noel Vaz.
Okay.
And I became like an associate member of the group, right? Didn't like, Lord, I'm taking tales out of school. Because what I used to do is hide whenever they were going to perform, because I didn't like performing. Right? I didn't like it.
But
Right?
what is interesting is that you perform these two pieces. I said to myself, but wait, Curtis know how to perform in written work, man.
Hold on up, me I come. And then it wasn't only Mikey Smith and Oko. It was people like Tomlin Ellis
Yes.
and Malachi Smith
Right.
because they had this group, Poets in Unity. And let me tell you something, they brought the wow factor to poetry reading too. Because I used to complain to Mikey and Oko to say, this thing where one poet come read, and then the next poet read, and then the next poet read. I don't really like it. That's why I'm the whole of a reading thing we don't know. I always said, look at Tommy and Malachi. Because the Poets in Unity, it was a dramatic presentation of several persons as several voices in concert,
Right.
all at once sometimes on a given stage.
Right.
And one of the things I want to do, really want to do, and I must do it,
Yes.
even more than writing another book,
Yes.
is to be, because if I think of the life of Mikey Smith, and I know he wanted, because he was always listening to me when I started to complain. I would like to write a whole concert, as it were, of poets all together in sync. Yeah, they're different pieces, but it is a choreographed presentation that is its own skit and the play.
I
Believe me,
think that would be,
Tatlin,
I think that would absolutely be marvelous. And
Tatlin, I want to write it till I'm Marga again and again.
I think that that is a do. And I think now
Yeah?
that you said it here on Wire, right?
And things go full circle
Yes.
because Malachi is the founder of the Jamaica Poets Nomadic school tour, Nomadic College and School Tour.
Yes.
Now in its eighth year, right? And I have been a member and performing with them 3 years now. It goes to Jamaica, right, every year, and a number of schools, 20, 30 schools, and the poetry is a motivational tool
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because the children, the students learn that these men and women on stage are talking about our very own lives.
Right, right,
When we leave class, what we face when we go home. So when you hear that poets are coming, don't make it a turn off because not only is it a lot of rhythm and the dog, but it's
yeah.
a lot of messaging, right?
Right.
Uh,
Because
uh,
you
uh,
know,
uh,
we
go
can't
ahead.
forget that we are an oral culture. That's who
We
we
are,
are.
we
We
ought not to.
yes, we are an oral culture. So everything that you're speaking to would definitely fit. As one person says, Elaine here. Hi, Elaine. Hi, good to see you. Elaine Winters here. She says, right, Curtis, write it. Good to see you, Elaine. And Andreen is helping us out here with the memory. Andreen is speaking about, says you're speaking about Noel Walcott.
Noel Walcott, yes,
I,
yes, yes, yes.
and
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Andrew. Yes, yes.
welcome, Errol Bean. I know you missed us at the beginning, but I
Hey.
um replay because you're in Jamaica watching us. So, we are so grateful for you for joining our time with Why I Write. How do you write, though? How do you write? How do you carry out the technique of writing? You explain that you gather from observations around you and always with the discussion of the social ills. And I'm still going to come back to my question about the name of the book, Staring into My Soul, because what in this collection of poetry that has you staring into your soul? How bare do you get with your pieces?
Dear as you dare. Dear as you dare.
Yeah.
Excellent question. Staring into my soul. And it didn't take me a lot of time to find the title because these poems are about conversations I keep having within.
Mm.
Hey, Malachi, in doing a review of the book, because the book was also launched as a highlight of St. George's College's 175th anniversary. It was launched here at the Jamaica Brew Festival in South Florida, and I am low. I can't speak enough of how engaging Principal Margaret Campbell was in saying, no man, let this be part of what we are presenting as part of the storytelling of us and where we have reached, right? And you as a graduate, make this a part of it. So we're the day of storytelling. And Malachi, in getting up, said to them, ball out my business in a tackle. Said to them, sir, Curtis, live this thing.
Mm.
Him go in bed in night, him
Mm-hmm.
wake up in night,
Mm-hmm.
go to school in night. got work in it. Him got road in it. Because he's a roadster, you know. This is not veranda talk, you know. My poetry is not veranda talk. Me go street. Me dep on corner, right? Because I've always been that fit as a child and as a young man, right? And in fact, all of that persona is also is a part of how I have been as a consumer marketer too, because you can't be marketing to the average household and not know what are the tastes of the average household. And you can't know the taste of the average household, beg your pardon, unless you go street.
There you go.
So on the streets, these are the encounters of the everyday man and woman, right? So this is about staring into my soul because I'm inviting you to read all these pieces to stare into your
So,
own soul.
oh yes, oh yes. That piece, what you just said, reminded me of a song by Bob Marley. I can't remember the detailed verse right now, but it really, really asks you to look within
Yeah.
for the
Are
answer.
you satisfied, man, with
Are
the
you,
life you're
that
living,
is it. Are you satisfied with the life you're living?
man? Yeah,
And
man.
that's what resonates. When I speak to all of us as Jamaican creatives, I realize that we are all holding on to the same line. And when I review all my interviews on why I write, and let me just pause here to correct the Elaine who is watching, it's Elaine Williams Morgan of,
Ah!
of CPF. Yes.
Oh,
Elaine
Elaine is my
has a
sister.
great book out.
Elaine is my sister, my sweetheart, my everything. Oh, Elaine is, yeah. Oh, yes, man.
Yes.
Elaine is,
Yes,
yes, yes.
indeed, Elaine. Elaine, and as you talked about the marketing and going through the various I remember her book, The Social, when we talk about how we should have a study about why there are so many radio stations in Jamaica and how come they are surviving. Her book immediately came to mind. Her book that explores social media and how we are to use the marketing affects that it offers to us. So, yeah. So it sounds as if we're all, I love this group called uh oh my God. They sang the song, We're all gonna sing the same song.
Same song. Yes, 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 yes.
Um, the what I'm noticing and what I'm very happy for in this era of life is that all of us are hanging on to that same lifeline that causes us to express, to utter, to do, to share, to write, to be out there, to sound the alarm, to, you know, um, instigate and motivate the rest of us not to lose sight of that invisible thread that all binds us together. So,
Mhm.
whether we live in Germany, China, Japan, South America, whether we live in the Philippines, the United States of America, Canada, no matter where we are, as people of the Jamaican diaspora, we're
Mhm.
holding on to that same lifeline that
Mhm.
carries us through and inspires us. And that's what excites me about you writing your book, Staring into My Soul. This book, ladies and gentlemen, has 75 pieces, and it also carries an interview with Curtis at the back of the book. So anything you have not gleaned from hearing the live man talk right here in Why I Write, it's your opportunity to grab yourself a copy. Send one to a friend. Now available on Amazon and available on in Ingram Spark. Hold up that book again once more. I love the
Ah.
it's bold, it's powerful. I like the image staring into my soul poems by Curtis Myrie. You got to grab yourself a copy. What would you say to someone, Curtis, who wants to do what you have done, but somehow they are holding themselves back?
Keep at it. But it's it's not a hell of a lot that has to be said to that person. Stick with it, because I'm sure every writer like yourself has that common story. Lord, me can't bother, right? But stick with it. Stick with it. And after a while you start enjoying it,
Mhm.
because then when you see, hey, but this leads into this,
Yes.
and when you return to rewrite this or that, you start feeling now how it is. This whole thing is about being driven. Stick with it.
Any acknowledgments you'd like to share before we wrap tonight, Curtis?
Yes, the sponsors of the publication, right? The Nunez Schofield, the law firm Nunez Schofield, that Jacko was a member of, right? The South Florida chapter of the St. George's College Old Boys Association, and all Georgians, and Philip Wong, right? 1959 graduate, yeah? Deltana Architectural Hardware founder. Good. They all came together for the production of this book. Good. Um, I acknowledge Christopher Chaplin, Clyde Mackenzie with the forward, Kwame McPherson, Antonio Valère, Judith Falloon, right? All those persons who, and Jean and Faith, dolled it up at the very start of the book, calling it, what is it? Praise the book, praise for the book, right? I'd like to, I'd like to thank, I'd also like to thank, that's the support for it. I'd also like to thank the person writing the introduction, good, Vangela H. Buchanan, right? All those persons. I thank my wife, Pauline Stone Myrie, because she had to be the one now, be the, shall we say, she was on watch, because many of these pieces were written 1, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And as I said in the book, when I'm done, she said, "You all right now?"
Hello, good evening to wife, Pauline Myrie. Oh my
So,
goodness. I love her
and,
on
and, and,
stage.
and, and of course, my mother, Gwendolyn Myrie, my father, Alexander Myrie. Sometimes I think they're looking down and say,
Yes.
Lord help him.
What a wonderful thing to have great parents, great, great friends. Curtis, the time has gone by so quickly. We're past our cutoff time, and
Okay.
I could continue to speak with you
I
for
want to I want to I want to read one more piece.
yes.
One more piece.
And while you look for the piece, and
Because the book is in 4 sections. I like how Andreen and Faith segmented the book, right? The book is in 4 sections. Garrison and Gordon House, race and culture, family and yard, and the self and soul. I'm going to read from one last piece from Garrison and Gordon House. It's called Inner the Heat of It.
Mhm.
And this is about life in the inner city. Because I get rattled sometimes when I hear comments about, then why them don't leave?
Mm,
As if people sometimes aren't trying to leave.
right.
And we should all be making life as respective governments that everywhere is safe for people, given where they are, the wrong they are in terms of being able to afford things, that they should still have purpose and meaning to their lives, right? So this is about the inner city and the issue of crime and so on. In the heat of it, making the headline. Every life will lose at the news, beating the deadline. Prime time is crime. Life sentence in the inner city. Shantytown Penitentiary. Every day I come and I get to wonder, will I live to pass the street corner? In the heat of it and can't get away from it. Not so easy to jump on a bus and drive away from it. Little when we earn is a return ticket to it. An intervention have to come before law and order put on it. Anything else is beating round the bush with it. In the heat of it, in my sleep across the street, me can dead see him way from it. Don't have to be the target. Straight shot we take anyone with it. Getting nowhere without we all take serious talk of it. Big talk for park. Nothing good ever come of it. Under the gun, blood just a run. Can't blind your eye, nor turn you back on it. Next on the news could be regrettably how you were caught in the middle of it. Right, right, in the heat of it. Thank you so much, Duckley. Thank you so much. Thank you, my darling. Thank you.
As I said back home, Curtis, congratulations on staring into my soul. And you
Thank you.
perform it well. You perform your pieces well. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed chatting with you. And I'm looking forward to pouring more through the book with you as I continue to.
Remember, our Saturday morning jaunts in the studio, when we come and we read the sportscast, and because you were both broadcaster, on air presenter, and you were good, and you were dealing as the studio engineer yourself as well. And after the news, we would sit and chat for minutes on end,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes,
So
yes,
yes,
yes.
blessings
It was
upon you.
good to see you too in Florida a couple of
Yes,
January ago. That was so wonderful. I loved it. So I look forward to seeing you again soon. We have to
yes.
touch base again very, very soon because we're looking for more big things. Congrats again on this book. And
Thank
yes,
you
as
again.
it says, write that play into a skit, into a play, into a
Yes,
musical.
yes.
Come make we do
And
it.
my thanks again, this publication, to Andreen Bonner and Faith Nelson for being publishing, producing partners, right? Thanks
Wonderful.
again.
Walk good. Blessings to you and yours.
All the time,
Awesome.
Jacqueline, all the time,
And
all
love.
the time. Yes, 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 yes.
You have been watching Why I Write with me, your host, Tatlin Oliver, and our very special guest this evening has been published poet, author, veteran journalist, and broadcaster Curtis Myrie, penning some of the most intriguing scenes in 75 poems. And his new publication, now available on Amazon.com and Ingram Spark. Make sure you grab yourself a copy. You won't regret it. In the meantime, till next time, walk good and share this with